Royally Us, we break down the biggest bombshells in the new book Endgame and reveal how William really feels about it. Plus, author Christopher Andersen reveals where William and Harry stand today.
I think the next shoe to drop will definitely be Meghan's book. She has a book to write.
And Princess Kate steps out in a rare tiara, while Princess Eugenie talks baby weight pressure and how fast food is actually delivered to the palace. We've got that plus so much more on today's Royally Us. Hey everyone, I'm Christina and that's Christine, and welcome to, yes, another big week of royal news.
The range this week from takeaway to huge bombshells to tiaras. I mean, it's a big week.
We have it all and we're going to get right to it. Starting with, like you said, the Princess of Wales' rare tiara moment. She attended a state banquet at Buckingham Palace, part of the state visit hosting the President of the Republic of Korea. So she wore a tiara that she had never worn before, the Strathmore Rose Tiara. So the floral headpiece had not been seen in nearly 9 decades since the 1930s, but was part of the Queen Mother's collection. And according to the court jeweler, the accessory's name comes from the Queen Mother's father, who was the Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn, and was a wedding present when she married Prince Albert. So this is a very, very rare tiara. We haven't seen it since the 1930s, and we love a good tiara moment, especially something that we haven't really seen before.
I mean, social media went wild. This tiara was a firm favorite for Meghan when she got married. We all thought that was when she was that was when it was gonna come out of the vault. Then a lot of experts started questioning if it even existed anymore. Was it dismantled? Was it sold maybe? So to see it again, I mean, it was hugely, hugely exciting. But we love a state banquet. It's so glamorous. It's very royal. And just state visits in general. We talked a little bit last week. It's royals at their finest. And this one was so much fun. We saw a special performance by the Coldstream Guards performing a Blackpink song, who were also guests of honor during this state visit, sort of representing Korean culture. I mean, I never thought that we would see a Mean Girls reference on the royal family Twitter account while playing a Blackpink K-pop song. But hey, anything can happen these days.
Here we are. Who would have thought? But, you know, Kate has a wide range. She can go from glamorous to, you know, just dressing down and helping out a lot of people. And that's exactly what she's doing. She put the finishing touches to a Santa's grotto during a poignant visit to a charity that helps children in need. So the mom of 3 visited Sebi's Corner in Barnet in northwest London, which is a baby bank that provides a safety net for families in need of food and clothes across Barnet and in London. So working with the professionals such as midwives, health visitors, and teachers who refer families to them aims to reach some of the most vulnerable children, particularly at a time of the year when families really need it the most. You know, this is obviously something that is very important to her. She brought a special gift to give families, and I'm sure this was such a wonderful day for these children.
Yeah, this was, you know, the Princess of Wales is working really closely with baby banks lately, which is these baby banks run solely on donations, both from individuals, but also from larger organizations. You know, the Princess of Wales in the past has organized large donations from some major retailers throughout the UK to support these baby banks. And especially this time of year, you know, they do provide sort of basic need items such as, you know, toiletries, clothing, diapers, but also, you know, at Christmas time, you want presents, you know, and you want sort of fun things. And so the Princess of Wales was there to sort of meet with organizers, talk more about the projects that are supported by this baby bank and the people who support baby banks throughout the area, and kind of to spread Christmas cheer, sort of starting that festive season off early.
I love that. And I love that she brought, I think it was 50 copies of her kids' favorite book. So she was able to share that with the families as well. So that was a really nice moment. All right, well, moving on to my favorite story of the week. So according to Princess Eugenie, ordering takeout food isn't an easy process for the family, especially when they're staying at Kensington Palace. I didn't think it would be, but on the Table Manners podcast, she said, so last night we got a curry, which I never do. I never eat them. My husband Jack and I were literally sitting for an hour on on Deliveroo. Like, what on earth does this mean? So after placing their order on the British delivery app, the couple had to ring down to palace workers to alert them that food was on the way. She said, and then we'll get in our pajamas and drive down and go pick it up. The revelation took the podcast host by surprise as they questioned why the pair had to drive on the property to pick it up instead of having someone bring it to them. She said, we could walk, but I don't want to be in my pajamas outside. I love this. This is just so, I love always getting those tidbits of what it's really like behind closed doors.
This whole podcast episode was so fun to listen to. It's definitely a must listen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, imagining the, how different it must be and like what you have to do just to order takeaway, just to order food delivered. We order pizza and it comes to the door, but they sort of have to have it go to the gate because they're not just going to let the Deliveroo driver through the gates of Buckingham Palace, so they have to go pick it up. I mean, it's so much fun to listen to this episode, but yeah, it really makes you think maybe the royals aren't quite like us.
No, definitely not. They might want to try to pretend that they are, but they're definitely not. We're going to talk more about this podcast in a little bit, but first, let's spill some royal news. We have to talk about what everybody is talking about, and that is Omid Scobie's new book, Endgame. It has been released, and there are a ton of bombshells in the book that we need to get to. Let's start with Queen Camilla. Apparently, she quietly thanked Piers Morgan for calling Meghan Markle a Pinocchio princess. So following her reveal that she struggled with suicidal ideation, Piers Morgan said on Good Morning Britain that he wouldn't believe Meghan if she read me a weather report. So according to Omid, Camilla sent a message to Piers Morgan to thank him for defending the firm. A palace aide subsequently told royal expert, told Omid that Camilla would never publicly address the matter or speak ill of others. I don't know if I really believe this, but I don't know.
It seems like something that could so easily be leaked publicly that I find it hard to believe that Queen Camilla would do something. So it seems like a rookie mistake that I just find hard to believe. But we have a lot more to get through. So let's, what's the next claim in the book, Christina?
Okay, so the next claim is that Princess Kate has an apparent visceral reaction to hearing Meghan Markle's name. So Kate has jokingly shivered upon hearing Meghan's name, and Omid also notes that Kate and Meghan have had almost zero direct communication since 2019. However, they shared some short pleasantries over the years. According to the book, there's no reconciliation on the horizon when it comes to things between Kate and Meghan. The Princess of Wales also has no desire to mend her relationship with Prince Harry either. That's not, I feel like a lot of the takeaways of this book so far are things that we've kind of already heard, just repurposed, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems like things that we already sort of knew or things that you could easily assume. I mean, I've said for a long time, Kate and Meghan were sisters-in-law, they were married to brothers, and those relationships aren't always really friendly. They don't always work out. Yeah. And there's no real need for them to stay friends in the current situation that they're in. So again, this is just sort of, if we haven't heard it all before, you can it's sort of like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it is sad that, Kate and Harry were very close at one point in time. That relationship, you would like to see maybe them mend. But we talk about it day in and day out, or week in and week out on this show. It doesn't seem like this is going to come together anytime soon. So, I mean,
and although Omid says that Meghan and Harry didn't have anything to do with the book and aren't directly connected with the book, we can sort of assume this is the closest thing to hearing from them, but we'll never hear both sides of the story. We're never going to hear from the royal side, from William and Kate's side. And so a lot of this, again, we say it almost every week. I guess we'll never, will we ever find out how this ends?
No, it's so true. But let's talk a little bit more. As we know, like we said, Prince William's struggles with Prince Harry are nothing new. But in the book, there's also claims that the Prince of Wales isn't on the same page as King Charles. This was kind of interesting. So, in an interview with London's The Times published this part of the book, and they say that William is in heir mode, which furthers the divide between himself and his father. Said William knows his father's reign is only transitional and is acting accordingly. Throughout the first year of Charles's reign, Omid claims that the two have grown further apart. He said it would have been nice to see them come together on certain projects, perhaps in the early years, to put on that united front, but they're all working in silos. This seems interesting because a lot of the royal experts that we've talked to say that William and Charles seem kind of closer than ever. Based on what we see in public, it doesn't really seem like there's this great divide, but maybe behind closed doors there is. And that William is taking this job seriously. He will one day be king, and maybe this is a transitional period.
Yeah, and I think that William will be king a lot sooner. William will not be Prince of Wales as long as King Charles was Prince of Wales. That is just biological, historical fact. There's just no way. And so he probably is treating his time as Prince of Wales much differently than his father, who had the luxury of time. He was very young when he became Prince of Wales. I mean, extremely young, had a long time to sit in that role. Whereas Prince William has less time to sit in that role and wants to make a bigger impact while he can. And you're completely correct. We've heard a lot of how they're closer than ever. William, we saw it at the coronation. How emotional was it when William sweared his allegiance and King Charles, was sort of saying kind things to him. I was welling up. It was very emotional. So clearly, maybe their relationship probably has changed. I can't imagine, I imagine it has, but I don't know if I find it hard to believe that it's further apart than ever.
Right. No, totally. And circling back to Harry and William, that seems to be further apart ever. And it seems like everything kind of split wide open after Harry exposed his problems with the family in that CBS Tell-All interview back in 2021. They said once Harry went public with his grievances against the family and the institution, in his and wife Meghan's interview, the rift between him and William expanded. They also say that in Harry and Meghan's 2022 Netflix documentary and The Spare, it just added fuel to the fire. I'm sure this will as well. Omid also claims in the book that William believes Harry and Meghan blindsided the family with their public comments about the institution. And he further alleged that William detailed his brother and sister-in-law's California self-importance to various friends and aides over the past couple years. He also alleges that a source told him that William is convinced that Harry has been brainwashed by an army of therapists, and therefore William says he no longer even recognizes his younger siblings. He also revealed that he saw his brother's friction firsthand in 2019 after covering the royal family for years, and that the growing strains on his working relationship with Kensington Palace as 2022 approached. After covering Harry and Meghan's October 2019 Southern African trip, Omid alleged that one of William's aides told him that he felt uncomfortable with his relationship with the Sussex team. Well, a lot of people have been questioning his relationship with the Sussex team for quite some time, since it's very favorable to them. And, and there was also those questions going around on his previous book that they were the sources.
Yeah, a lot of this, a lot of these claims, a lot of these statements feel unsurprising, I suppose. A lot of us, I'm sure, are sitting there, like you said, well, a lot of us are feeling a bit uncomfortable about that relationship between the Sussexes and Omid. I'm sure that someone else on the Palace team would have pointed it out. So a lot of this feels either we've heard it before or, well, yes, that seems like the natural consequence of what's unfolded these last few years.
It was interesting in the book. He says that that the final blow for Harry and Meghan was Prince Andrew getting Frogmore Cottage. So it seems like that was maybe like the nail in the coffin for them. And then they were kind
Which
of
is funny because I think he's still living in Royal Lodge.
Right. I think so too. Yeah. And then an insider, an insider did reach out to Us Weekly about how William feels about the book. And we hear that he considers the book to be a spiteful portrayal of the monarchy. But the last thing he wants is to help publicize a litany of false and cruel narratives. And it's like, when are these narratives? I mean, the narratives are never going to stop, it seems like. And, we spoke to Christopher last week. He'll talk about it in a second, about how Meghan might be the next one to write a book. So it just feels like this hamster wheel is forever turning.
Yeah, and it does feel like, what is the end goal here? Because the record has allegedly been set straight from Finding Freedom, the Netflix documentary Spare. What is the end goal of this book? Because it just got some of these stories and some of these experts, they just feel kind of nasty and just unnecessary to sort of air in the public. It doesn't feel nice. All of this, someone told me, it just feels icky. It's not a nice,
a nice
narrative. And it just feels like putting a lot of negativity into it's bad juju.
It is. Yeah, it's like a bad soap opera at this point. Like, we're kind of done with it. All right, well, let's break down the royal rules with our friend Christopher Andersen. We're going to revisit more of our interview that we had with him last week. And he tells us what he thinks about Harry and William's relationship and what may happen going forward. There's always maybe some talks like, Harry and Charles may get back on track, but it seems like maybe William and Harry, that might be a lost cause. And we have Omid Scobie's book coming out in a few weeks. And, that seems to already be kind of painting the picture that Harry was left in the dark about Queen Elizabeth's death. So it seems like it's just going to keep getting, the hole's just going to keep getting bigger.
And people, I think it was kind of funny that only days before Harry and Meghan are out in Las Vegas at the closing of Katy Perry's show, Orlando Bloom at their side. I think they're living a different life now. Mm-hmm. And, it's neither one is really making much of an effort to make things whole again, I think, in terms of the royal family. Mm-hmm. But Harry, I think the next shoe to drop will definitely be Meghan's book. She has a book to write. And so and I think she's has generally been inclined to say what she wishes to say and be pretty forthright. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. So he's convinced Meghan may be the next one to write a book, and oh Lord, get ready for that one if that happens.
Again, I ask, what more is there to set straight? We've had...
Seriously, we've heard it all. Like,
this is the third book now, and Meghan adds the fourth. How much more can we reveal?
There's got to be some, but you know what? We will read it and we will be fascinated by it and we'll be talking about it. All right. Well, let's wrap it up with our pint-sized palace. And like we said, we're going to revisit more from Princess Eugenie's podcast interview. And she says that society's obsession with post-baby weight made her go mad, especially after welcoming her second baby earlier this year. She said on the Table Manners podcast, I find it really hard to shake baby weight. I guess society dictates that you have to shake your baby weight and all that stuff. She and her husband, Jack, share two sons together, and they welcomed their elder son, August, in February of 2021, and their second child, Ernest, this past May. So months after giving birth, she admitted she's gluten and dairy free. However, her diet isn't just to help shed the post-baby weight. It's also to support her husband. She said Jack gets really bad migraines, so he's gluten and dairy free. And she explained that a gut specialist recommended their diet, and she said that she's doing it with him. But it's so true. Society does put a lot of pressure to shake that baby weight months after you give birth. And realistically, it takes a very long time.
It does. And I'm so glad she said this. She's put it out there. I mean, she's literally a princess. She has quite a lot of resources at her disposal, and it can still be really tough. I think it's unfair that every time she's on a red carpet, she's with someone else, that it's really easy to compare, make those really sort of unkind comparisons between women. She looks beautiful. Her children and her family are beautiful. And I hope that she really enjoyed that takeaway.
I hope so too.
This episode was so good. And it was well worth a listen.
I love it so much. All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode of Royally Us. Please let us know in the comments your thoughts on Endgame, because I'm sure you got a lot of them. So please keep commenting, keep subscribing, and Christine and I will see you guys next week. For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.